podcast session. Tonight, I'm really excited to have Gino Wickman on the line, who's an entrepreneur since the age of 21. Gino's had an obsession from learning what makes businesses and entrepreneurs thrive. At 25, he took over a family business which was deeply in debt and in need of help. After turning the company around and running it for 7 years, he and his partners successfully sold the company. Gino then set out to help entrepreneurs and leaders get what they want from their businesses. Based on his years of real-world experience, he created the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS, a practical method for helping companies achieve greatness. He's personally delivered more than 1,900 full-day sessions for more than 135 companies, helping them implement EOS. He is also the author of award-winning best-selling book Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business, as well as Get a Grip, Rocket Fuel, and How to Be a Great Boss, and What the Heck is EOS, which has sold more than 1 million copies worldwide. Gino is the founder of EOS Worldwide, an organization that helps tens of thousands of businesses implement EOS with the aid of an international team of over 350 professionals and certified EOS implementers and online support. There are almost 100,000 companies using the EOS tools worldwide. And lately, Gino is now devoting his time and energy towards helping entrepreneurs in the market, getting a huge head start and jumpstart on taking the entrepreneurial leap. Gino, welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you, Barry. Pleasure to be here.
So grateful. And I just want to say a quick welcome to everyone who's watching this live, wherever you are in the world. Stay tuned. 2 things I'm going to ask you to do. One is just hit the like button. Let us know that you're there. Rafi from my team has stayed up late to make sure that we get all your questions and comments fed through today. And also, please make this as interactive as possible. I really love to dive into your latest venture, Gino, because I think it's pretty extraordinary. You've gone and kind of conquered one area of business, and now it seems your passion is really about helping people make the jump start into business, which I think, based on the year we've had so far with COVID, is the absolute perfect time for that to happen, because a lot of people have realized they can no longer rely on, jobs and government agencies to provide their freedom. They're looking to make that leap into entrepreneurialism. Was that planned to kind of launch this at the same time?
No, it's just dumb luck, but there's no question I am in the right place at the right time. And, to your point, you kind of said this, but, I have spent the last 30 years of my life obsessing and focusing on how to help successful entrepreneurs become even more successful. And what I decided is I was going to shift my energy when I turned 50 to the front end of the entrepreneurial journey. And so now what I'm focused on is helping anyone that thinks they might be an entrepreneur start a better startup, for lack of a better term. And it's really teaching what I needed the most. There's an old saying that says we teach what we needed the most. And so I'm teaching my derelict, wild and crazy entrepreneurial 18-year-old self, because if I had this content then, there's no question I would be a quantum leap ahead. It really took me about 12 years to really figure it out. And so that's what I'm here to do over the next 10 years.
Yeah, I love that. I got 2 questions out of that. First and foremost, when was the decision made that when you got to 50, you would take that switch?
Yeah, so that's I have OCD and ADD, so that's my winning combination. And so it's my OCD. I'm a planner, and so it's just looking at where I was. I think I was 40 years old, and EOS was starting to really take off and grow. But I knew that I had almost another decade of work to do to really get it to where I wanted to get it. I've since sold the company. I still own 12.5% of it. But I just decided that 50 seemed like the right number. And so I said 10 years from now, when I hit 50, once I've built this thing, I'm going to redirect my energy, because this one is truly a passion project. And so it's just something I'm extremely passionate about. And I'm giving this 10 years. What the goal at age 60 is, I have no idea, or the next thing, but this is what's going to keep me busy for the next 10 years.
I love that. The second question to come up for me is, do you believe everyone has the ability to become an entrepreneur?
Absolutely not. Okay. And so I'm going to break a few hearts out there, but hopefully excite some people, but also save some lives. Okay. And so, in this new book, which is called Entrepreneurial Leap, I've written it in 3 parts. I call it Confirm, Glimpse, and Path. And so that first part, confirm, is all about helping you to confirm, do you have what it takes to become an entrepreneur? I believe there are 6 essential traits that every true entrepreneur has. And I just believe you either have them or you don't. You are born with them. It is nature over nurture. And so unfortunately, everyone is not cut out for this. But with that said, it's not like being an entrepreneur is somehow the ultimate pinnacle. It's not the ultimate place to arrive in life. And it really is a cautionary tale. What I'm trying to do is head off at the pass 10 years of misery for some people that really shouldn't be taking the entrepreneurial leap.
Yeah. I remember one of my previous episodes, I spoke to quite a phenomenal entrepreneur. He said there's two types of entrepreneurs. There's the ones that set out to create something that doesn't yet exist. So like your Elon Musk, but then he said it's more so the accidental entrepreneurs, the people that see a problem in the world and decide that just needs to be a solution for that. I meet a lot of business owners that I believe are accidental entrepreneurs. They kind of are good at doing something. Next thing they wake up 10 years later and they have a business built around this thing. And it's not even a business, it's a job. Can you kind of talk us through like what are some of those or even all those 6 traits that you believe that any entrepreneur possesses?
Yeah, you're touching on something very important. So before I do, I just want to share a context that's really going to help your audience. Because, the last thing I want is somebody to feel defeated now by that statement that I've made, because there's this illustration that I have in the book. I call it the entrepreneurial range. And so if you picture this arc or a range, basically what it's doing is it's illustrating everyone that has a business out there, okay? And on the far left end of that arc is what I call self-employed people. And then on the far right end of that arc, I call true entrepreneurs. And so anyone that has their own business is somewhere on that range, on that entrepreneurial range. And so on that left side, the self-employed, these are the one-person shows, people with a side hustle, people that are consultants, people that are freelancers. On the far right end, those true entrepreneurs, the people that redline that, these are the greatest entrepreneurs of all time. Like you already said, Elon Musk, Henry Ford, Walt Disney, Oprah Winfrey, Sarah Blakely. And so anyone that's self-employed is somewhere on that arc. And so that doesn't mean you can't go start, a one-person show. And I always say, if you're a really handy person and you want to be self-employed, go become a handyman or a woman, because the reality of it is you can go charge $60 an hour for what you do, make $100 grand a year and be in absolute heaven. But if you don't have those 6 essential traits, you're probably not going to build an organization, because that handy person that starts out and starts that business that does have the 6 essential traits, all of a sudden they can't turn their brain off, because they're going to say, wait a second, if I bring somebody in to help me for $25 an hour, all of a sudden I'm making this much, and then I can go find the next job. All of a sudden that person has a construction company that's doing $100 million a year. So, again, this is not a death sentence if you don't have the 6 essential traits. It's just saying you're probably not going to build that empire, and it's okay. The point is it's okay. And so what are the 6 essential traits per your question? They are visionary, passionate, problem solver, driven, risk taker, and responsible. And if you were born with those, look out, baby, you're probably building an empire. And then to your point about accidental entrepreneur, I just look at it a little bit different, so I won't debate that point. But if you understand that entrepreneurial range I shared in those 6 essential traits, it kind of says something similar, but it's just coming at it a little bit different.
Yeah. It's funny, as I heard you talk through those 6 traits, I'm like, tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, of course.
The 6th one, which is responsible, I was like, man, I was not responsible when I started. And it's funny you shared that, because I can look back when that changed. And at almost the same time that changed, so did the success of my businesses.
Yeah. And that's a fun one that you bring up, because that's the one that, as I'm going through that list, I love that you're saying you're tick, 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 because that happens in every case. I mean, we've got 100,000 companies running in the US. This stuff is time tested over 30 years. But again, for the true entrepreneur, they're doing that same thing, tick, tick, tick. Responsible always catches people by surprise, because the immediate reaction is, where does that fit into this equation? Because all these other words are so intense and actionable. But the reality of it is, listen, if you're not a responsible person by nature, you're just never going to build a successful company. And what I love about the debate, because sometimes people will debate me about, are you born with it, aren't you? Well, here's how I know you're born with the responsible trait, because look at families. So for those of you out there that have brothers and sisters and siblings, if you look at it, you'll have a family of 4 kids, and literally 2 of them take responsibility and 2 of them don't take any. And so some of you are listening right now going, oh yeah, my brother does and my sister does. So the point here is you have one of 2 defaults as a human being out there. When something goes wrong, you either default to looking at how do I solve my problem, or you default to blaming everyone else for what just happened. And the ultimate litmus test I've heard described is if your building gets hit by a meteor, your default is that was my fault. So I built that building. I decided to move there. I chose that. And so again, it's your default. You default to one of the 2. And so that's a little deeper dive into the responsible trait.
Yeah, I really like that. As I said, like I certainly wasn't that growing up. Like risk taker, yes. You know, break the rules, yes. Responsible, certainly not. And I think that that's something that I've had to develop over probably the last 18 years of being an entrepreneur, to where, like you said, like I noticed a lot of our clients through COVID, there was newer clients that got almost caught up in the fear of like, why is this happening to me? Or, you know, my business was working, it will continue to work. And then there's those who've been with us for a little bit longer who've done a considerable amount of work on their mindset, are like, cool, like this is not my fault. But right now I'm in control of how I choose to show up. I'm in control of how I choose to steer my business through these uncertain times right now. And they're the ones that were quick to take action, adjust their business and come through it better for it than the ones that kind of buried their head in the sand and waited for it to blow over.
Yeah. And let's, since we're on this, let's go a little deeper and really make this point make sense. You know, because COVID, 9/11, the Great Recession, World War I could go back 1,000 years. Okay. We're going to get our ass kicked every 10 years for the next, you know, for the rest of our lives. So please, this is just the one time we're getting our ass kicked in this 10-year period. And we can talk about 10-year business timeframes, which is a powerful lesson my mentor taught me. But the point I'm making in this is whatever the issue is, whatever the surprise is, this responsible trait, you know, let's play it out now. An entrepreneur starts a business. Let's pretend you have 25 employees. Well, you're not getting to 25 employees if you don't have this responsible trait, because you are literally going to have 1,000 issues and problems every year. And if your default on every one of those is that it's someone else's fault, you are never going to solve them. So you have to understand, as the entrepreneur, even though 3 levels down, you know, someone caused that problem, that's your fault, your problem, your company. So your default has to be, that's my problem to solve. I created that. I hired that person. You know, something goes wrong with a client. You don't default to being mad at the client. What did you do wrong in that situation? How could you better improve? If that's your default, you're going to be incredibly successful. If your default is to blame everyone else, you're not getting past your first employee, because they'll just keep leaving you because you just keep blaming them for everything.
Yeah. It's a very powerful position to be in, because it's from that position that we can create change.
It's total freedom. It's total and absolute freedom.
Yeah. Got some fantastic questions coming through. Keep them coming, guys. I'll get to them in just a moment there. So, Gino, you talked about the 3 stages. We just spoke about the first stage. What's the second stage of this new book of yours?
Yeah, so again, it's confirm, glimpse, path. And so I'm taking you on this psychological soul-searching journey to decide if entrepreneurship is right for you, or if you already took your leap, how to make sure you made the right decision. And I like to say, start a better startup. So with that, the second is called glimpse. And once you confirm that you have these 6 essential traits, that entrepreneurship is right for you, now what I do is show you a glimpse of all the possibilities. I believe the best thing I can do for you is show you the life and all of your options, give you this vivid picture, this context, because if you can see that, you'll start making better decisions today. And so in addition to countless real world stories about entrepreneurs that started their business and built incredible businesses, I also share a day in the life, both heaven and hell, the dream and the nightmare. And so you get to see the contrast of what unfortunately most entrepreneurs live, which is the nightmare, but also you get to see the dream. And then I teach how to avoid 8 critical mistakes. But then the third thing I teach, and this is the thing that I'm most passionate about in Glimpse and seems to have the most impact, and that is helping you decide the right business for you, helping you decide what you're built for. And so there's a tool I created called My Biz Match, 100% free on the website, e-leap.com. And you just literally Go to this tool, take about 15, 20 minutes, fill it out. And what it's going to do is it's going to help you get clear on the industry that is right for you, the type of business that is right for you. 3 types. You're either product or service, you're B2B or B2C, and you're either high price, high value, low volume, or low cost, high volume. So you got to decide what you're drawn to. We will not succeed at everything as entrepreneurs. What are you drawn to? What are you genetically encoded for? And then the last type of business for you to choose from is size. How big of a business do you want to build? Because billion-dollar tech unicorns are 1 in a million, and most people are not cut out to build them, nor do you even want that. And so that's kind of the most freeing part of my biz match, is helping you understand that building a $5 million company, heating and cooling company that throws off a 20% profit ain't all bad. So, so unfortunately the media hype focuses on billion-dollar tech unicorns, but man, there's nothing wrong with starting an amazing marketing firm that does 2 million. I mean, so the sky's the limit. But my biz match helps you really understand all of these options. And so we're talking about glimpse. As an entrepreneur thinking about taking your leap, if I can help you clearly see what you're cut out to do, your odds just went through the roof that you're going to succeed, because you're going to be loving what you're doing. And one quick example is, I'm going to use me as an example. Product businesses. I hate product businesses. That's just me. Okay. So I've got lots of clients that have product businesses, but when I look at $1 million in inventory, I get the heebie-jeebies. In other words, managing inventory just freaks me out. So I'm a service entrepreneur. I love selling services. I love selling the invisible. So that's what I'm drawn to. That's what I'm good at. That's what I'm built for. And so you got to know what you're built for, and it's going to help you become successful.
I just love already how just in the first 2 stages, you really eliminated, I guess, a lot of hours, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of broken marriages, just by confirming, am I an entrepreneur, or am I better just to be self-employed? Because again, that's where I see potentially a lot of people fall over, is that they're very successful at being a sole trader, yet they're like, oh, I can make a business from this, but they just haven't quite got that gene or those 6 key points you mentioned before. But again, how brilliant is that to be able to diagnose what industry, what business, is best for you?
Yeah. And I love that you said that, and that you see that, because that's exactly what's happening. Is I'm trying to help people avoid a nightmare. I'm trying to help them avoid 10 years of hell. And it's, being an entrepreneur and building a company is hard. It is so hard. It's borderline insanity to want to do this to yourself. And so it's just not, all it's cut out to be. But for those of us that have these 6 essential traits, we can't think of anything else but to do that. So I really appreciate you saying that, because pulling it all together, now you've got the 6 essential traits, just increase your odds of success. Now you see a glimpse of what's possible and what you're built for. All of a sudden, look out, baby. And obviously that takes us right to that 3rd part path. Then I'm going to show you a path how to get there faster. But you in those first 2 parts, you were able to really filter and decide, is this right for me? What is right for me? At the end of the day, again, if you decide to just be this one-person show, have this wonderful online business where you're sitting behind your laptop all day long, like a mad scientist, amen and hallelujah, man. That is happiness.
Yeah. I'm reflecting a lot of my own business journey, having this conversation, and I look back and I kind of fell into entrepreneurship because I think there was no other choice, but I certainly didn't enjoy it. I just didn't enjoy. I couldn't work for others. Like that was just not a thing. I was too arrogant, too egotistical, and it just didn't work for me. But I look back now, it's probably only been the last 18 months out of an 18-year journey that I've actually I've fallen the groove of this. It's like, I enjoy this. I enjoy challenges to me. I'm like, yes, an opportunity to do things better, an opportunity to do things differently. Whereas I look back, it's like, I just took no responsibility. Things would happen. I'd be like, not another fire burning. And it was just such a stressful, like I said, borderline insanity. And somehow through persistence, determination, and probably sheer stubbornness, here I am finally enjoying the journey.
Yeah, and what that prompts for me is, we're talking about glimpse. That's why glimpse is so important, because what I believe, all that hell that you went through for all of those years, if you would have seen the glimpse of what's possible, No, not that it's going to solve all of your problems. I believe I can solve half of an entrepreneur in the making's problems in taking their leap, but the other half, you still have to make those. But my point in this is, if you could see the contrast of living the dream and the nightmare as an entrepreneur, you're inherently going to solve problems because you know that that's what life could look like for you. When you see those 8 critical mistakes and understand them, you're going to avoid those things. When you know and start the business that you're built for, it's just going to be less frustrating. So each one of those things helps you indirectly solve future problems. So I don't know if that makes sense. I get that you totally get it, but that was the whole master plan behind Glimpse, is to just show you a context, which I believe solves half your problems once you see it.
Yeah, it's funny too. Like, I started off in a product-based business, kitchen and bath renovations. Like, I was always building stuff from a young age, and it was a high-end product to a B2C market. And then I tried to bought all the machines to expand and grow, and we had to start to compete in a turnover, low quality or high quality, high volume market. But now all my businesses are in service, right? And it's much more enjoyable than in the product with all this inventory sitting around, like delayed payment periods. It's just interesting to notice that transition. And obviously, it's a science and a math that you've now worked out and put into your new book. Let's we've got some great questions coming through. I want to get to them, but I'm keen to kind of just touch on path a bit. So if you are watching, welcome to the show. Please hit the like button. Let us know that you're watching and enjoying the episode here with Gino. And keep the questions coming through. I'm going to get to them in just a moment. Before we do, though, the third part of your book, Path. Give us an insight into what that's about.
Yeah, so I'll give you the high level of each chapter in Path. And then if there's something that jumps out at you, you know your audience better than I do, certainly. But in Path, what I cover is, first of all, college or not. So if you're at an age where you're trying to decide on if college is right for you, or you're in college right now, it takes you through all the facts to ultimately decide the best decision for you. If you're beyond that, obviously that chapter is not relevant. The next chapter is all about helping you discover your passion. I believe passion is at the root of your success. It's what's going to make you borderline crazy to get up after you got knocked on your ass to do this again, and then get knocked on your ass again and get up and again and get up. And so it's how to discover your passion. I then get into how to find a mentor, because if you want to kind of get a speed pass to success, find a great mentor. I show you how to do that in that chapter. From there, I talk about the power of 10-year thinking. So if I could get every 16-year-old out there to think in 10-year timeframes, the world would be a whole different place. From there, I then talk about 8 disciplines to greatly increase your odds of success. And then I wrap everything up with talking about the 9 stages of building your business. Again, all of which are helping you to get there faster and eliminate half the mistakes. So anything in that jumps out at you, will go as deep as you'd like.
There's a few things. First of all, like, entrepreneurism is not really a career choice that was promoted at high school or college. It wasn't like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an entrepreneur. It's not really an option that was there. Doctor, dentist, things like that. And it was funny, I was speaking to someone the other day, and they mentioned how, like, those career days at school, how powerful they are, because a lot of kids just have no idea. And it's like, it's so easy we can get stuck into, I guess, the paradigm of what our parents do and lead in their footsteps. But in many ways too, there's a lot of kids that are growing up that just find they have this itch they can't scratch.
Yeah. And so with that, but do me a favor, put that in the form of a question, because what you just said takes me in 3 different directions, and I want to make sure I'm going in the direction that you want to go in. So what's the question in that?
Well, I guess let's come from this way. Like, if we've got parents watching right now, it's a question I've been asked before. It's like, oh, my child is interested in becoming an entrepreneur, but I'm not an entrepreneur. Like, how do I educate them? How do I answer questions when I work a 9-to-5 job? Like, what would you say to the parents that are watching this right now that maybe have kids they can see are quite entrepreneurial but don't know how to guide them?
Yeah, I'll be still my heart. So I was kind of hoping you were going in that direction, because when I think about who this book is really for, at the end of the day, it's for that entrepreneur in the making. But the truth of the matter is, it's for anyone that has an entrepreneur in the making in their life as well. And so be that a parent, a guardian, an aunt, an uncle, whatever it is. But if you have this person in your life, it's also for people that want to mentor entrepreneurs in the making. So what I do is 80% of the heavy lifting for you. And it's also for what I call collaborators, any organization that's trying to teach entrepreneurs in the making, and they're looking for great content to make them better teachers. And so let's talk about that parent. And so that parent that has this wild and crazy ADHD kid and thinks that they have a derelict on their hands. No, you have an entrepreneur on your hands. Please harness their energy. They've been given a gift. So with that, yes, this is for the parent to first and foremost read this to get peace of mind that, wow, my kid isn't crazy. Number two, hand it to your kid. So far, what I've learned is age 13 is the magic age that this book makes total sense. So 13 and above. So if you're 13 to 113, this book is for you. I've had a 9-year-old read it and get it, but that feels like that's starting to get young. But for what it's worth, if with that, first you read it, then hand it to your child and have them read it and start the journey. And to your point, because I think there's a sliver of what you're talking about is college in this. It's also going to help you decide college or not for your child, and for your child to decide and make you less fearful about them not going to college. Okay, I didn't go to college. I was blessed with an entrepreneurial father and 14 out of 16 cousins who were entrepreneurs. It was just an entrepreneurial family. So, and none of those cousins went to college. My younger brother was the first one to go. So, you know, I was blessed with no pressure, but I knew I wasn't going to college. I could not wait to run from academia when I could. I just wanted to go to work and make money. I was an entrepreneur and I knew I was going to be fine without it. What I do is walk you through all the facts. And there's as many facts that they should go to college as not. Just a question of why they're going to college. What are they going to college to accomplish? Because every entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur that I've talked to that went to college has a degree, MBAs. I asked them, are you using anything from your degree as an entrepreneur? And 100% of the time they say no, they're not using one thing. But what happened is I did that for about 20 years and I was biased. But then what I learned is I started asking a follow-up question that hit me. And I started asking, knowing everything you know about college, would you go back? And in almost every case, they said yes. So I said, why? And the reason they said yes was because of the relationships, the proving ground, the testing ground. They were inventing businesses and doing stuff. So the point of all that, then I give you a laundry list of very successful entrepreneurs that went to college, didn't go to college. So the point is you'll make a decision at the end. And when in doubt, go to college if you're not sure. But if you're a true entrepreneur, college isn't going to do much for you other than those relationships and things like that. The other thing, though, I do, because in interviewing many, many, many entrepreneurs, I said, what classes would you take? And so I give a laundry list. There's about 10, so what kind of subjects would you study in college if you were going to go as an entrepreneur? So it's a choice. A lot of benefits, but you just have to decide for yourself. But it does take away the fear that it's not a death sentence if you don't go as a true entrepreneur. I survived.
Yeah, Gino, there's so much truth and value in what you share, which again, for me, affirms like the huge importance of hiring a mentor, finding a coach, and it just, I'm gobsmacked the amount of business owners out there that just don't invest in themselves, don't invest in a coach and mentor, and they slog their guts out for year after year after year. Many of them not making a profit because I don't know whether they're too proud. I'm not sure what it is. I'm starting to see a shift there. I know that in Australia, we're a bit behind the States, like coaching in the States is a lot more almost commercialized than what is in Australia. And I'm seeing that shift, and I think we'll see a huge shift in that in the next 5 years. What are some of your tips to finding a mentor to help you out? Especially like I can imagine people watching right now going, well, look, I'm just getting entrepreneurship. I'm not making money. Like I'd love to get a mentor, but I can't afford one.
Right, exactly. It's so great. And you make such an interesting point. And so when I talk about mentoring, it's amazing how much mentoring has changed in the last 30 years. So when I went and found my first mentor 30 years ago, paid mentors didn't exist. So a coach is a paid mentor, no matter how you slice it. Masterminds, you're paying to be in a mastermind to get mentored. And so I want to give you the two contrasts because, back in the day, you didn't pay for a mentor. And it's not bad, neither is bad. But my two mentors were my dad and a tremendously successful businessman by the name of Sam Cupp. And these two people took me under their wings and mentored me. And I had a very formal relationship with Sam Cupp. We met every month. We met for about an hour and a half. I'd share all of my issues. He'd help me solve them and teach me and guide me. So anyway, long story short, that's the typical standard original mentoring relationship. And what I would urge, this is the power of My Biz Match, what we talked about in Glimpse, is first and foremost, figure out the kind of business you want to start, then go find a mentor in that business. That's the ideal scenario. And it's a matter of reaching out to these people and asking them if they'll mentor you. Worst case, go work for them. Worst case, if they won't pay you, go work for them for free. But to surround yourself by that entrepreneur that is where you want to be 10 years from now and be entrenched in their environment, oh my God, it'll be 50 times better than a college degree, okay? So that's point one. But the reality of today is there are paid mentors. I'm a paid mentor to my clients. So it's a different game now. You can still find a free mentor. Start there, certainly. But absolutely getting in a mastermind that's in the same industry that you are, finding an amazing coach, because it doesn't have to be somebody in the same industry. That's not like the mandatory criteria, because my clients are in every industry you could ever imagine. I don't know their industry at all, and I don't need to. I'm teaching them how to be great entrepreneurs. And so, I'm their mentor and they're paying me to be their mentor. So that would be my advice around mentoring. Hopefully that answers your question. I took you on a long journey there.
Absolutely. I guess today's age as well, you've got podcasts, you've got audio books, you've got fantastic books like yours where there's years and years of trial and error that have gone into something. So it's a very different game than probably when you started it at 21 years old.
Yeah, and actually, if I can cut you off there, I want to say that because I forgot to say that, because that's the other thing that didn't exist, 30 years ago, is the wealth of information out there with the internet and YouTube videos. My God, just do a search on what you're looking to learn and bury yourself in the computer for 8 hours. I mean, you'll be an expert in any subject. So there's that kind of free mentoring that exists as well that was not out there, 30 years ago either.
There's really no excuse then this day and age.
Oh, no.
Yeah, love that. All right, let's get to the questions. Tim from Tasmania, thanks for your patience. Tim from Tasmania, hard truths here. We'll talk about the confirmed stage. Question for Gino. Does Gino believe introverts can live those 6 entrepreneurial traits?
Oh, not only that, you're talking to one right now, or one is talking to, I'm an introvert. I mean, I'm a card-carrying introvert, man. So when I'm teaching, you can't shut me up. Other than that, small talking, put a fork in my eye. Social events, networking, So give me a movie, a book, a one-on-one conversation with somebody I love. So I'm an introvert. So can you? Hell yes. And where I was going to start by saying is, I wish I could call on this study, but I read something a while back about mathematically, most successful entrepreneurs are introverts. So don't hold me to that, but bottom line is worst case scenario, I can almost assure you it's 50-50. So hell yes would be the short answer to your question.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the question, Tim. Zara from Sydney, I'm a creative and I'm working to bring our digital agency forward. What can Gino say about creatives who want to level up to the life of an entrepreneurial mindset?
Well, I don't know that it's ever been written that creatives can't. So it's not like because you're a creative, I'm going to tell you something different. Okay. So as a creative with a digital marketing company, if you decide and desire that you want to build an organization with lots of people serving lots of clients, that's a choice you're making as an entrepreneur to build a company. What I would urge you to do is please download my vision clarifier from e-leap.com. It is free. Fill that out so you are crystal clear on exactly what you want to build 10 years from now. Because my caution to you is, if you don't want to manage 25 people 10 years from now, you may be going down the wrong path. So be really, really careful. And let's go back to that entrepreneurial range. If you're enjoying the hell out of being a one-person show digital marketing company serving these handful of clients, that might be your destiny and that might be your heaven and you might make plenty of money. So just first and foremost, decide that this is what you want. My Biz Match might help you as well. But assuming you want to build that, it's not about helping a creative think like an entrepreneur. It's you got to make sure you are an entrepreneur, that you have those 6 essential traits, that you want to build something. And then from there, let the games begin.
Yeah. I like what you shared there, because it's about being conscious of where you're taking your entrepreneurial journey. I meet so many business owners that end up at this place where they're kind of imprisoned by their business and they don't even know how they got there. And a lot of what I've heard you say is it's around being conscious of, like, where do I actually want to be in 10 years' time? Like, what's going to fulfill me, and ensuring that you stick the path to get there.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I don't want to belabor this, but I just, I hear that question and it concerns me, because this person is thinking, I'm a creative, therefore, my mind works different than everyone else's, so I've got to do something different. And I would also urge you, read Rocket Fuel, one of my other books, to this creative. You're a visionary entrepreneur. Stop mislabeling it and go build your empire, assuming that's what you want to do. So no, you're just an entrepreneur. I'm laughing inside of my head thinking, okay, so here's what I advise creative entrepreneurs to do. And here, we are all creative. We are all creators. We have a craft. As entrepreneurs, we're practicing our craft all day, every day, creating stuff. And where some of that creativity might go into being an artist or being a marketing person. Listen, the person that is installing furnaces in people's houses is a creative. That visionary is constantly reinventing ways to do that better. We're all creative. And I love you, whoever you are, if I've pissed you off. I try to piss at least one person off per interview, because then I'm doing my job.
Rocket Fuel is still to this day one of my top books of all time, and had a massive impact on changing and curving my entrepreneurial journey, realizing that people actually like doing shit that I don't like doing, and that's okay. That was a big change. Ted from Melbourne. I'm thinking of Gino's massive experience working with Fortune 500s. How has his strategy and approach changed to, number one, burnout, and number two, imposter syndrome, evolved over time, or has it always been the same?
Wow. So did that person say that I work with lots of Fortune 500 companies?
Massive experience working with Fortune 500 companies, yeah.
Oh yeah, let me correct that. So here is my sweet spot for 30 years. This is so important. I created EOS and wrote Traction for one audience and one audience only, and that's privately held entrepreneurial companies with 10 to 250 employees. That's the sweet spot. And that's where 80% of the EOS clients reside. We do have 10% larger, 10% smaller, still work for them, but that's the sweet spot. So I stay as far away from Fortune 500 companies as I can. They're too big, too bureaucratic. I work with entrepreneurial speedboats. We do at EOS Worldwide. So I want to clarify that. Now, that doesn't change the answer to the question that this person is asking. So let me call upon the second part of that question, because it is so good. Just remind me of the second half of that question, because it's so good.
Approach to, number one, burnout, and number two, imposter syndrome, evolved over time. Has it always been the same?
Yeah. So, how to avoid burnout, that's really hard. The way you do it is protect your time. But listen, entrepreneurs burn out. With these 6 essential traits, you're going to go hard. I mean, you've got to be somebody that absolutely loves working hard. You have outworked everyone in your life, your whole life. Okay. And so if that's not you, this entrepreneurship thing may not be for you. So you're probably going to burn out from time to time. You're going to crash often. Okay. And so but managing and protecting your time, that's something I'm pretty masterful at doing. I take 150 days off a year. I have for 20 years building everything that I built. So it's possible. Be disciplined. That's how you avoid it. Imposter syndrome is the thing that I'm kind of eager to get to. So that's like, the term drives me crazy, because that's like the latest term of the last 5 years or whatever. Let's just call it what it is. It's insecurity. I don't know that I've ever met an entrepreneur that isn't insecure. Listen, we're insecure people. We're trying to fill this black hole in our soul that never gets filled. So that's what drives us. Okay. So with that, imposter syndrome, call it what you want to call it. I don't think I was confident in what I was doing until I was 40, and I was doing it for 15 years. So insecurity is okay. It's normal. It's actually what drives a lot of people. So, anyway, I won't get into all the psychological issues and I'll stop there. Just insecurity is okay. If it's called imposter syndrome these days, it's okay to doubt yourself. It's okay to be scared. But with that, you go forward, and you hate to say fake it till you make it, but there's a little bit of that goes on.
Yeah.
Fake the confidence in the presence of your customers, clients, and employees.
Yeah. Great answer. Real talk there, Gino, as well.
And by the way, I can't help but say one more thing. So when I say that, it gets misconstrued a lot. I've also learned how powerful it is to be vulnerable and just share when you're feeling insecure with customers, clients, and employees. And when I used to speak in the early days, I would start by saying, I'm going to make 2 confessions to you. And one of the confessions was, I'm a little nervous as I'm starting this talk. So just admitting it sometimes helps you calm, but nonetheless, you're still insecure in there or feeling that imposter syndrome. I hope that answered it.
Absolutely. And Ted, check out a previous episode we did with Alex Sharfin. We dive quite deeply on the imposter syndrome side of things as well. So you get some insights there. We're nearly out of time. We've actually flown today. So Gino, can you just share with the listeners and viewers today, either live or watching the replay, how they can get in touch with you and get a copy of your latest book?
Fantastic. Yeah, the epicenter of everything, Entrepreneurial Leap, is e-leap.com. I urge you to please go there. There's a free assessment to take to confirm if you have the 6 essential traits. Please fill out my biz match to decide the right business you're built for. And please fill out my vision clarifier to create a vision and an action plan for you to go start your business. And then I would also love to, invite anyone that's interested in being a collaborator or a mentor that wants to teach this content. The relationship is free. The content is free. You just have access to all the content, and you get to teach it to people and become a hero to entrepreneurs out there. So e-leap.com is where you'll find all things Entrepreneurial Leap.
I love that. Maybe we should be having a chat to the schooling system about
that. Here. That's a lot of my collaborators are high schools and colleges.
Yeah. So I've got one more question for you. Before I do, if you are watching this, make sure you subscribe to the Game Changers, both on Facebook and Instagram, to stay up to date with the latest episodes and fantastic guests like Gino Wickman, who we've got here today. Gino, I asked all my guests this one question. That is, that if you were to have a conversation with the 10-year-old version of you, knowing all that you know now, having the 50-odd years experience behind you, what would you say to him?
10-year-old?
Yeah.
You said 10-year-old. Wow, man, that's interesting. I've never heard somebody pick that age because I don't know that I would listen at 10. And so I always think of 18 years old. So I'm going to answer your question as 10, but in my mind, I'm thinking of my 18-year-old self. And it's so the first statement is let your freak flag fly. And so the point in that is to be you 100%. Know thyself. Stop apologizing for who you are. If I would have learned to be more vulnerable, I'd learned it at about 35 years old when I really started to practice it. I had a Teflon shell around me 1.5 feet thick up until then. Life is better. You get there faster. So let down your guard and be you, and don't apologize for it.
Love it. Wise words. Gino, so grateful to have you on the show today. It's been a value action-packed episode. I trust that the viewers and listeners have got massive value out of it. And I urge everyone to jump online to get a copy of your latest book, ASAP, and get one for your parents, your friends, your neighbors as well. Gino, thanks so much for your time today.
What a pleasure, Barry. Had a blast.